Hey there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how to make this bracelet. Now I showed you the techniques for coloring and bending and drilling holes in the acrylic shapes in my Clear Acrylic 101 video. I'll put a link in the video description in case you missed it, so you'll know how to do all those pieces. But today I'm going to show you how to put the bracelet together, since a lot of you guys asked how to do that. Now I am going to make a little change. On this original bracelet I used this thin wire. This is 26 gauge. I haven't had a problem with it breaking or anything, but I really feel like I should have a stronger wire for this, so I'm going to use this I think it's probably 22 gauge, maybe 20 gauge wire. It's a bit thicker here. I'll show you a compare. See, that's much thicker than that blue stuff, and this was just from a pack that was like $10 at Joann's. It came with a bunch of e-beads as well, so you know, if you don't have any wire, that's a good way to go. I'm going to start by cutting off about 5 inches of wire, and I'm gonna cut 2 of these. I like to, when I'm doing bracelets or earrings, anything where I really want the connections to be symmetrical, I start off with wire that's the same length, because it just helps. Because I know that if I'm bending it and I'm trimming off a centimeter here, then I know I should be trimming off a centimeter at the other one. It just helps me keep everything lined up. So now what I'm going to do, and sometimes your holes, because this is a thicker wire, your wire might not want to fit through your tiny holes you punched, so you can always use like a little pokey tool or a fine burr, like a pearl bead reamer, to open up those holes a little bit if you find that your wire's not going through. It's a little better to do this, I think, than to try to just use this really, really thin wire and then have problems with it if it's not strong enough. So what I'm going to do is put my wire in here, and I am going to leave about an inch, maybe to like an inch and a half on one side, and leave the remaining kind of over on the other. And then I'm going to put a bead on. Okay, and then I am going to pull this shorter piece of wire up. I'm going to wrap this around really neatly. In fact, you don't even have to put your bead on until after you've done this. I just want to get about 3 coils. Really, really neat there, okay? Really pretty. It's decorative, and it's making a secure connection. Can you see that? Like my bead just tipped off, so. Okay, I'm going to close down. I'm going to trim that closely. We'll put that bead right back on there. And then I'm going to get my other link here, and I am going to go into the top side. And I am going to make sure I leave about the same space as I had on the other. Okay, and that wire's just in there and kind of bent, and then I'm pulling that up from underneath, and I'm very carefully again gonna do some very, very neat, like 3 very neat and tidy little wraps here. I could even do 4, maybe I should do 4. I don't think it really matters, just as long as it's fairly the same as the other one. And then I'm going to trim off my excess. And if these feel sharp when you're wearing them, whoa, that's not very close. I gotta trim that a little closer. If these, if the wire is sharp, you can use a little file to soften those edges. And sometimes I also find just using the flat part of my 3-in-1 tool and just giving a little squash kind of tucks any sharp areas down, and then they're really comfortable to wear. So we're going to do that on the other side, and I'm going to let the camera roll just so in case you had any questions, you could kind of see this again. So again, we're going into the hole there, and we're going to bend it so we have about 1.5 inches on one side and the remainder on the other, so we have a short end and a long end. We're going to take the short end and we're going to wrap it neatly 3 to 4 times around. It's just going to give us a pretty little decorative, secure decorative element here. And then we're going to trim off the excess. Watch your eyes. I wear glasses, so especially when I bead, I can't go without my glasses when I'm beading. But if you don't, it would not hurt to wear just a pair of safety glasses while you're doing any trimming with your wire. Certainly, if it saves a piece of wire going into your eye, it's worth it. And then we're going to put our bead on, and we're going to go over to our other side, and we're going to go into that top hole. Try to just gently bend it. Don't give it a sharp bend, because when you start bending the wire, you weaken it. So that's why we don't undo something. Like if I made a mistake, I would cut that off and get new wire. I can't undo that, or it's going to make a really weak wire. Okay, so I'm just feeding that through, and I just want to get about the same amount of space that I had between there and my bead over here. So I need to gently feed through a little bit more, maybe just a smidge more. It's okay if it's a little off, but we just don't want to have a huge gap there. All right, and now I am going to wrap this ever so neatly just do your coils so that, you know, the coil is like they're right up against each other. It's just a wire wrapping technique. It's really nice to do a nice, neat wire wrap. Okay, so practice that. It's so rewarding when you see those coils lined right up against each other. It's so pretty. All right, and again, I'm going to snip it as close as I can, and that's where flush cutters come in. These are great, but it's hard to get those cutters in as close as you want. So that's like kind of investment number 2 after the 3-in-1 tool would be a nice pair of flush cutters. And you can just kind of bend it a little bit until you have it just the way you want it. And there you go. Very pretty. Now this has a little bit more movement, I think, because of the smaller wire, but I think you're better off to go with a little bit thicker of a wire and have this really strong connection. So there you go. Look at that. 6 minutes and we have a gorgeous new bracelet. If you have any questions about the products that I was using, the clear tiles this is what they look like. They come from Punch Place Plus. They sponsored a video a while back, and that video has all the techniques on how to color, bend, drill, and all that jazz. They're really fun to use for ornaments and for jewelry. I want to thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy crafting!